1, 2, 3.
Hello everyone, welcome to Old Bluff. Well, we got another big one for you up on the sawmill. It's a big willow oak. I think it measured like 46 inches at the biggest place. I had to do a little trimming, as you can see on the top up there, to get it where it'd go through the sawmill. I still didn't trust it, so I got off several times just to check it and make sure. And I sped things up in the video so you wouldn't have to see all the agony that I went through with this. It took me about 2.5 hours to cut this little old log up. It's 5 foot long. But it all turned out pretty good. A buddy of mine, Robert Bell, he's got a old grist mill that he inherited, and he's wanting to restore it. He inherited it from his grandfather. He helped me out with my concrete on my little cabin build, so I thought I'd help him out with what he's needing on restoring that grist mill. So you had to do a good bit of nip and tuck on this thing just to get it where I could pull it around to a cant and start slicing what he needed. See, I'm bringing a little Precious in here now to help me get this top piece off. It's a little bit too heavy for a little fella like me. Precious doesn't mind. She gets right in there and grabs it. This is what it looked like. A real pretty wood, you know, and I hadn't even got anywhere down into it yet. But it's a nice piece of wood. Freshly cut and ready to go. So here I've got it rolled over. Gonna work on this side. I'm trying to get it trimmed down to about 33 inches. That way I know it's gonna pass through the sawmill good. But I had to doctor it up in a couple of places. I cut this section off here towards the operator side. Then I had to go back and take a little bit off the back. One thing I found out too is that debarker would not get in there close enough on this big of a diameter tree. It wanted to hang up on the lead edge of the debarker frame itself. Now I'm going to the back here. It got hung up once, so I had to just back off of it with a debarker and just not use it. That's all I could see until I got it to a cant. You know, I just had to stay in there with it, trimming things up. I'm taking this companion cut off that top there, just trying to get it to a manageable dimension that I can pass through the sawmill. Well, now we're going to give it a flip. And I mean, it was a tough one too. This thing wanted to rick around and wink wonk, but we managed to get it all situated. You know, with this chain turner and that log clamp, you can really scar a piece of wood up on the face, so I tried to be careful with it. Now all these pieces that I cut them oversized, anticipating that I was going to have to come back anyway and reface them, straighten them out, edge them back off, and it's just a good thing that I did. And you'll see that as the video progresses through. There I jumped off again just to check it after I cut it that 33 inches. I just wanted to make sure because I didn't want to hang things up again like I did earlier. I didn't show that in the video, but it's just one of those things that you find out when you get into these larger diameter logs. So get this off, get it rolled around now, come back and get this last flitch turned off of it. Originally, when I first put the log up, I had a couple of 4x4s that I stuck down in the frame just to be sure that this thing didn't roll over and knock my building over. But everything worked out pretty good with it. I didn't have any problems with it, but you can never tell. You got to be better safe than sorry, I guess. So we get this thing flipped over here and laid back down. And you see I'm going to have a little bit of wane on this side, but I've kind of cut this thing wild to have enough to play with to get what my friend is needing. And I wind up with a couple of good slabs myself. I cut him a good bit of extra material, so it all worked out real good in the end. And being able to come back and reface and edge off his boards, especially cutting something this wide, you know, I had a new blade, good lubrication, real good tension, but you still just have some wobble in it that you don't want to pass on to somebody. What he's doing with this material, when he restores this grist mill, he's actually going to paint it in the end. I'll throw a picture in here at some point of what these finished grist mills look like, so you can see exactly what he's going to do. He's been in touch with a restoration company, but he's going to do this himself, and I don't blame him. It's, I don't mind helping him out, and we'll probably work together on cutting all this stuff to size for him. He's going to sandblast and do what he needs to do on the grist mill itself. I'll just help him with these timbers that he's going to be needing. We've got 3" by 13 bed rails that they'll be sitting down on the ground that the grist mill sets up on, and there's some 4 by 6.5 pieces. And here you can see what this first cut, closer to the heart than what that first flitch was there. It's real pretty wood, good grain. So I'm trying to give him something that's going, really, I hate that he's going to paint it, but that's what he wants to do. So, it's up to him what he wants to do. But I think it'd look good stained, and put some good urethane or something on it. I don't know exactly where he's going to keep it, but anyway, here I'm cutting some slabs that I'll come back. Obviously, I couldn't pass over between the throat and the blade the 13 inches. So I'm going to cut these big slabs 6.5, and then come back and trim out the 13 inches and then reface that. And you'll see that as we get through all this. I felt like that was the best way to get him the best finished wood as possible out of these pieces. So I'll just set these big slabs off to the side, get everything cut up, get it down to manageable pieces. And I've got a list of what he's needing, so I'm kind of working from that list to cut out all these random pieces that I'll come back and resaw to give him his finished pieces. I just felt like that was the best way to go about this, instead of trying to just slice everything out perfectly at one point. Like I said, I spent a good 2.5 hours in doing this, but I cut him a good bit of extra wood, and I wound up with 2 of these big slabs myself, and a couple of 1-bys, as a matter of fact. I've got another gentleman. This log that you saw, another gentleman had brought it to me, and it was 14 feet long, 58 inches in diameter. So he's a tree guy, so I had him trim things up with his big saw so that I'd be able to get it on the sawmill, and cut this 5.5 foot length section that I'm working on now for my friend. And I got him to cut me a couple of slabs as well for some coffee tables that I'm going to be building for my cabin build. So it's worked out pretty good. But I've got about a 8 foot by 41 inch diameter, I believe is what it is, that I'm going to be sawing on the sawmill next. That thing kind of scares me. It's a big, heavy log. I'll stick a picture of it in this video somewhere, but I tend to get myself in some situations from time to time. It takes a little bit of finagling, a little bit of thinking, and get my courage up just to attack some of it. It's not like just throwing a log up there and slicing it up. These big trees, you have to kind of think about what you're doing and be careful at it. I had one situation here on this one where it tried to turn a little bit, got a little bit scary. Everything was alright because I quit, but you really have to be careful with this stuff. The shorter they are, the worse it is. It doesn't go between those standard back stops. I had to use those little manual back stops in the back. They work good, but if you put much pressure on them, they want to lay back down with you, and that can be dangerous. So I've tightened them up, but And with this big log, all that weight pushing against them, you really have to watch it and be careful with it. So I'm just peeling this thing down. You can see I'm just setting those slabs to the side there, and I'll come back and edge them all out and resaw them as to what I need, just to get it this log down to a manageable size. That's just what it takes, you know. It's piece by piece. But I enjoy doing it. It's a good piece of wood for a friend. It really helped me out. I couldn't have done the concrete without Robert. He really knows his stuff. We did a good job on finishing. I was proud of it. I was proud to get through with it. I know that. I didn't finish with the trialing machine till right at dark. And it's just a small cabin, but yeah, it's just timing. The concrete company shorted me a little bit of concrete, so they had to run and get another yard. That held us up, but we got it all poured out, and I just hung in there to get that last little bit finished. Any of you might have seen that foundation slab video that I did several weeks ago. If you haven't watched it, maybe think about going back and take a look at it. I enjoyed doing it. It was good working with Robert, and I told him I'd help him out at some point, so this was my opportunity. I didn't mind at all. So here I've got a 3-inch piece that I'm trimming to the 13-inch dimension. And these are going to be, I think they're the bed rails for this machine, so they'll stand up that 13-inch direction. Now I'm coming back and dropping in, so on this one that's going to be the 3 by 6.5. So I left that 13-inch piece, 13 5/8, and I'm trimming that out, and that'll be 2 of his 6.5-inch. I think those are cross members. And I'm cutting it again here. So this is the one I got a 1 by out of the center. I have to remember what I did each instance here, but I wind up with getting a 1-inch board out of the center of this. So he got 2 boards for what he needed, and I got that 1 by. So now I think that's what I'm doing again. It'll be the same cut, so I'm just squaring it off on the top. I had good faces, but the edges on these particular ones, I needed to come back and dress them off. And like I said, it was just a good thing that I probably gave them a 1/2 inch or so in that width, and a good 1/4 or 3/8 in the thickness of them. That allowed me to come back and make one final cut on a side if I needed it, and it just really worked out good in that regard. So here I'm cutting him some more of those 4 by 6.5s. I think he needed 6 of them. I wound up getting him 8 or 9. I think it was 9 of them at the end. When we get to the end of the video, you'll see that, but it really worked out good, and I was able to clean them up. Now here I've thrown up the 3 by 13s that I thought was on that other, so I'm coming back and edging this off to clean it up. I had cut them at 13.5, I believe it was 13 3/8, so I'm cleaning this up, and I'll flip them over and edge that back side just to get them down to the right dimension. I think I'm just taking a sliver off here, just squaring that up. You got that done, so now I've got another 4-inch slab that I'm going to be cutting down for those 4 by 6.5. So I'm taking this top section off, getting it down to where there's no wane on it, and I'll drop down. I've got the step down set for the 6.5 on the sawmill, and that way I'll just come back and slice it. I think I sliced this one twice and then flip it up again, take that wane off, and then set from the bed rails up 6.5, I believe is what I had done. But these worked out pretty good. I didn't have to come back and edge out much on these because of the way I cut them. The faces turned out good. I wound up with a good bit of material. Those first flitches that I cut off, I've saved them. Some of them were, I think, 4 inches thick. So I'm going to save them and probably make some coffee tables or something out of them. So you can see I flipped that over, and I'm going to get him one more from the bottom rails, and that'll take off most of this wane. I think this one had just a little bit of wane on this side, not much. But I think that finishes up his 4 by 6.5s. I'll have to come back. I've still got to get, I think this might be more of the 4-inch. I'll have to see. Look, yeah, that's more of them, so I'm going to edge this one out to get him several more of the 4 by 6.5s. I thought I had cut them off. But you can see those big flitches laying there on the floor in the sawmill. There's big old rascals. I'll flip them upside down, put some legs on the bottom of them, sand them back, clean the edges up, make something out of them. I think they'll make good little old coffee tables. I've got several situations I think they'd fit right in with. So we'll see what happens with this one. It's good green wood. It was probably down. Andre, my friend that does the tree work, he had cut this down probably 2 months ago, I believe it was, and we got it trimmed up, cut the size, what he's wanting, and I got this section from him to help Robert out. So it's pretty much a green tree. I coated the ends, so that way when Robert gets it, I'm just going to leave them sitting inside the sawmill until Robert's ready to get them. But yeah, everything ought to stay pretty stable, especially him getting them cut to size. He only needed, the longest pieces he needed were 4 feet long. This is a little over 5 feet. Some of the shorter ones were 2 feet, and then he needed some 3-foot sections. So it was not long boards that he needed. You can see that little tear out there on the face of that one where the chain turner got it. I really like that chain turner, but man, you can mess up wood quick with it. That and that clamp dog if you don't watch what you're doing. So I'm rolling this one over. Looks like I'm going to probably get one out of it to leave good edges on it. I'll pull it up and probably step up from the bottom. I have to drop those manual backstops. That's what I'm doing there. See, I've got the laser light on so I can see right down through there where everything's going to hit. And it really comes in handy. That laser has been a blessing. I use it a lot more than what I thought I would before putting it in. I mean, the idea of using it was appealing to me, so that's why I did it, but I use it a lot more than I realized I would. So I think that's going to finish his 4 by 6.5s. So now I'm refacing this bigger slab, just cleaning it up. There's just a couple of little high spots on it. Blade jerked a little bit going in at one point, so I wanted to clean some of that up. It's kind of hard to face something this wide when you only make thin cuts on it, but this worked out pretty good. And I think what I'm going to do, if I remember correctly, I come back and edge this anyway once I stand this up and cut what I need out of it, because it's 6.5 wide. I'll come back and edge it again to clean those edges up. I got the bulk of it out of there so it lay up against those backstops, but I'll come back and edge it again to make sure everything's good and clean. And I don't want to give him something that he's going to have to plane or sand a whole lot with. You know how it is. Your buddy helps you out, you got to help him out. And I appreciate him doing it. And he knows it too. He really did a good job with it. It's great to have good friends, especially friends that'll actually help you. Sometimes it's few and far between. Seems like these days nobody wants to do anything. But once in a while you run across somebody that help you out. And that's why it's good to help them out. I didn't mind spending the time and effort on helping Robert. Well, I'm just cleaning that top edge up, then I'll drop down. I forget, I probably am getting another 4 by 6.5. That's what it looks like. So I'm still not quite finished cutting what he needed for his order. It's a pretty good stack sitting over there on the pallet. You can see it beside my takeoff conveyor. But like I say, I got him at least 2 extras. I think 3 extra from what he actually needed. He's a big old heavy rascal. I weigh 170 pounds. That's probably about what that 4 by 6.5 weighed. So I'm counting to make sure of what I've got, just to see. So I'm just throwing that on there extra, I believe. You can see I've got it set. Now I'm coming back though. I think I had thought I had finished doing it, so I brought that laser back down to the top of that board and then set it to set down again. Cut him another one because I'm going to get him what he needs plus a little extra. And here I've got the 6 by 6s thrown back up on the sawmill, and I'm refacing a couple of these sides that I didn't particularly like. I went through 2 saw blades on this tree, made probably 6 or 8 cuts with it through some of the thickest stuff. Just didn't like what I was getting after that, so I put a fresh blade on there, made sure that the tension was good and tight, and good lubrication, just kept it going with it. And see, I had 2 good sides on these 6 by 6s and had to come back and resurface 2 of them. It just made them turn out that much better. Something I didn't want to give him a piece of wood that he would have to spend a lot of time planing or sanding, whatever, to get a good paint surface on it. We're going to keep them in the dry until he gets ready to do something with them. We may cut them to length. I don't know. It's whatever he wants to do. But I'll put a couple of videos of his project in mine as time goes on. You can see what I got it. That's right, I got a 2x out of that. That's the extra 2x, and I got a 4 by 6.5 is what I've done there. So that's another 2x that I got. I believe I come back and face that one off again because I wasn't satisfied with it. Yeah, and I'm gonna just give him that one for bracing or just working with, whatever. I don't need it, but it's all good wood, every bit of it. I tried to get most of it that I could out of the center. I kept 2 slabs from the outside for myself. I'll make something out of those later on, or cut something with them and sell it. It's whatever it takes, but I wanted to get him real good wood, good hardwood, because this is going to be probably the last grist mill restoration that old Robert does. We want to do a good job with it. I want to be proud of it. Yes, I just resurfaced that one into a 2x. That's a little extra icing on the cake is what that winds up being. I just throw it on his pile. He'll have that to work with or do a little something. And then we're going to throw that one up, kind of dress it off a little bit. Looks like I'm high stepping. Like I say, I sped these videos up so you wouldn't have to wait so long. I think the original video wound up about 2.5 hours long. That's about what it took me to saw this tree up. I got it sweet and condensed down to 31 minutes. That's what I'm doing, is re-edging this one, getting a good surface on it so he'll have something. I'm probably doing those 4 by 6.5s again out of this one. I thought I did him. I believe this one's going to be a extra 6 by 6 for him. Is what I do. have that sneaking feeling because I've got the floor cleaned up here, so I'm down to darn near nothing, sitting there waiting to be cut up. It looks like I'm going to cut him a 6x6 out of it. I might get a 1x or something out of it. That's what it's looking like there. No, that's sliver there, so I just face that off. I believe I'm going to cut him 6x6. I'm just shooting from the hip this. I'm having to remember what I did. We'll see how it winds up. We'll all know what it is here in a second. But I sure did drop on down there. We'll see what it turns out to be. And there I go with that laser again. I can't say enough about that laser. If you're running a sawmill and you don't have a laser on it, you need to at least think about it. Because, I mean, if you get it set right, it is a blessing. Because you can just take out a lot of time, guesswork. Yeah, it's 6x6 there, so that's what I'm getting him. That'll be the last one of those. Then I'll show you the finished product and what he's going to get. I think that's going to about do it for it. And I clean that up, checking dimensions. I think we're good to go. Well, this is what we wound up with. I got him a good bit of extra material, especially on the 4x6.5. Several of those I didn't like, so I cut him some others. These bigger boards, I'm glad I left a good bit extra on there. That way I could come back and edge everything one last time. I faced these off on about 3 of them, I think. That right there is a little bit rough, but I think that's the bad one. Yeah, that's one of the bad ones. I made him, he only needs 6. I think I got 8, 9 of the 4x6.5, so he's got plenty of those. And I threw him in a 2x6.5, an extra 6x6. He only needed 2 of those, but got him an extra one of those. So there it is, willow oak. Thanks for watching. Y'all come back and see us now.